Hi, my name is Megan Hickey, and I will be presenting my Science of Reading PowerPoint presentation for you today. So the first thing that we should take a look at is, what is the science of reading? Well, the science of reading is the converging evidence of what matters and what works in literacy instruction, organized around the models that describe why and how. So this really focuses on the why and how aspect of researching what works and what doesn't work, and trying to find the science behind what's the best way to teach students in the classroom. So taking the two separate subjects of both science and reading and putting them together. So the next thing that we should take a look at is the brain's role and what it plays in the science of reading. So we have the left side of the brain, the cortexes, and the three regions. So these are the three parts of the anatomy of the brain. So the left side of the brain is associated with language processing, speech, and reading. So language processing, speech, and reading. This means that the lobes in the left side of the brain have certain roles when it comes to reading. The cortexes have 4 different types. So those are visual, phonological, semantic, and syntactic. And we'll learn a little bit more about semantic and syntactic in a few slides. So the visual cortex perceives letters and words. The phonological cortex maps the sounds to letters. The semantic cortex stores word meaning. And the syntactic cortex helps us understand the rules and structures of sentences. Then we have the 3 regions. So we have the parietal temporal lobe, the occipital temporal region, and the frontal region. So the parietal region is the brain sounds out the words. The next one is that the brain stores the appearance of the meaning of the word. And then the frontal region is where the speech is produced. So these 3 aspects of the anatomy of the brain play a huge role when it comes to the science of reading and researching what works with teaching students in the classroom. So the next thing is the fluency and disfluency. So this is really important because fluency plays a huge role in the science of reading. So fluency is the ability to read words quickly and easily as soon as they are encountered. So not taking a minute to look over the word, knowing what it means immediately. So then that would lead us to disfluency, which occurs when the normal flow and smooth delivery of speech are disrupted. So that would be kind of stuttering over a word or taking a few seconds to sound out the word, and not fully knowing what the meaning could be. So it's important to know what causes disfluency, because the science of reading really focuses on the brain. So what can cause disfluency is that people might still be learning how to read. And that could be that they're still at a young age, but it could also be due to brain injury or disease, because any little small thing that happens to the brain can affect the cortexes, the regions, or even the left side of the brain that we were talking about earlier. And so now we're going to look at the simple view of reading. So the simple view of reading is a formula demonstrating the widely accepted view that reading has 2 basic components. So we have word recognition, which is also known as decoding, and language comprehension. So decoding, or also known as word recognition, focuses on breaking down the sounds in the words for both familiar and unfamiliar words. So decoding becomes fluent over time for most people. So this would be like focusing on syllables and stuff like that, just breaking down those words. Then language comprehension is being able to know what the word means and how it is being used in a sentence. So these 2 items together create the reading comprehension. So decoding and language comprehension come together, and that's the simple view of reading. Just 2 simple aspects play a big role when it comes to the science of reading. And so our next thing that we're going to take a look at is Scarborough's reading rope. So this breaks down the language comprehension. So 5 separate strings for language comprehension, and then 3 separate strings for word recognition. And so these 8 strings come together. So the 5 strings for language comprehension are background knowledge, vocabulary, language syntax, verbal reasoning, and literal knowledge. So we'll take a deeper dive into those 5 specifically just for the language comprehension of it. So then we have background knowledge, vocabulary, language syntax, verbal reasoning, and literacy knowledge. So background knowledge focuses on the facts and concepts that the students should know. Then vocabulary is all about precision and knowing the words fluently. Language syntax is all about the syntax and semantics, which we went over a few slides previously. Then verbal reasoning is using inference and knowing how to use metaphors, so like using our prior knowledge, using knowledge now, and then that leads us to literacy knowledge, which is all about the print concepts. So then we're going to focus on the 4-part processing. So this breaks down process, and it processes information. So we have phonological, orthographic, semantic, and syntactic. And so we'll take a deeper look at these 4 and how they play a big role in the science of reading. So phonological enables our work and with the speech sound system of our own language and other languages. So this could be like comparing and contrasting words that sound the same, because they might sound the same, but they will mean different things. Then we have orthographic, which enables us to recognize and recall written language symbols. An example of this would be fluently reading words regardless if it's printed or handwritten, so that shouldn't have an effect on us being able to fluently read. Semantic is interpreting words, meanings in and out of context, so this means no matter how the word's being used, we already know what it means. And then we have syntactic, and that helps us to comprehend text. So this goes hand in hand with the semantic processor part of it, and it focuses on how the word is being used. So then we're going to look at the 3 main focuses of pre-K through 3rd for teachers and what they should focus on. So we have scope and sequence, time allocation, and the big 5. So scope and sequence provides a list of skills to be taught, a sequence for teaching them, and guidelines for when to expect student mastery. So this is really important for teachers to look at, especially for like the state standards, where they should know what they need to teach, when they need to teach it, and when the students should know this information. And then time allocation is super important because teachers should know how much time they'll put into their lesson on activities, making sure that they switch up the activities and keep the lessons interesting. Because if the teacher were to have the students read out of a textbook for 45 minutes straight, the students would learn absolutely nothing because there's nothing interesting about that. And then the big 5. So these are the 5 main parts of fluency and reading comprehension. So we have phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. So reading comprehension stems from the big 5. And so the teacher, when we're focusing on pre-K through 3rd, should really focus on hitting all 5 of these points when it comes into the classroom. And so a way to do that is through this evidence-based strategy. So we have the read aloud strategy, which I chose because I used this a lot when I was doing student teaching. And so the read aloud strategy is used in science of reading very often because it builds many important foundational skills and introduces vocabulary, provides a model of fluency, and expressive reading. And the expressive reading part is very important because this helps the student to read the way that the book is intended to portray the story. So the student is able to comprehend the tone of the story and what the character thinks. And so this plays a really, really big role in that. And so in conclusion, the science of reading was made for all students to succeed and hopefully become fluent readers in the classroom, putting both the science and the reading into the classroom for the teacher. And so here are my references. I hope you enjoyed my PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.